Hey everybody, Mark Vo with Vogtland Outdoors. Another quick lesson here, some 20 days before bow hunting season. Trying to come up with little quick lessons. One thing is, you're going to be over here at the archery range. You might not have been here for months, and suddenly you're shooting a whole lot of arrows, and you're going to be tempted to start pulling really hard on the stuck arrows, especially the ones that are in those black targets over there. Multi-layer foam glued together with some kind of gum that makes it impossible to get even recurve arrows out, much less arrows out of a compound bow. And these other layered targets, they're not much better. So today's lesson is going to be to show you a technique, a smart technique for pulling arrows out of bag targets, layered targets, and even circular face targets without risking your shoulder muscles. Let's go shoot a couple and then we'll go out to the bag and see. Clear. The thing to remember is this, guys. There's leverage that's built into your arm that you're not aware of. And the one thing that you don't have, one thing that's not strong, is the back of this shoulder muscle, that crown muscle. If you screw with your rotator cuff, you're in for a potential injury that might plague you the next 10 years. Here's a sample bag. I'm going to get in close and I'm going to show you a really good technique. Let me get set up here. This involves using the muscle that you got that's strong, which is your bicep. That bicep is strong. That elbow is strong. You put the elbow against the target. You put your hand against the arrow, right up against the surface, and you bend here at the bicep. You pull out straight. This one can help a little bit. You're using your fingers to pull, not your shoulder muscles. You're using your fingers and your bicep muscle to do all the pulling straight out. That's the one that's got the strength. The minute you start pulling with this shoulder muscle, or worse yet, the one that's actually, the one that's drawing the string, if you pull that muscle, you're in a whole lot of trouble. I'm going to go take a couple of shots at one of the layered targets over here, and we're going to see what that looks like. Clear. Okay, here we are shooting at about 18 meters. 20 yards. Somebody set it up for the hunters. And these are layered targets. Now I shoot a 45-pound bow. It's not going to go in a whole lot. Let me raise this up a little bit. Hold on. It's not going to go in a ton for me. I'm going to get about 2 inches of penetration. It's in this deep. I'm still going to go in here with my left elbow. I'm going to do pulling like this. Left elbow against the target. Hand wrapped around there as much as you can. Then you pull, you squeezing your hand up against the target. It makes your hand swell up. It does that last little bit of pull. Did you see what just happened? It came out a ½ an inch and I didn't do anything with my shoulder. Now you use your elbow to pull it the rest of the way out. You work across the target wherever it is that you get leverage. So you saw me start on that end. I'm going to go here first. Elbow against the target face. Squeeze the hand. It swells up. It pulls the arrow out. Now I can pull it the rest of the way out. On this one, I got to circle around. Come in this way. Squeeze the hand. It swells up. It pops the arrow out. And you end up taking all your arrows out without ever using anything related to your shoulder. I've seen guys come here that try out for the US team. Let me get off the course. Guy comes in here in a 300 GT one year. You could see he was already nursing a shoulder injury. He gets up, he takes a couple shots, walks up to the target, he goes like that. You could just see him wince. He pulled that rotator cuff again. He literally walked off the course with a tear in his eye. I felt so bad for him. You guys with compound bows, do not be tempted to actually pull that thing like by jerking with your shoulder. You're in for some rude disappointments when you injure that shoulder muscle, the one that draws the bowstring, guys. Don't do it. Use that elbow method, use the bicep method, use the hand squeezing and swelling up against the target. That's your best friend for eking the arrow out and getting it started. Quick thing I talked about in the video, but I didn't really explain, is the hand squeeze technique. If you come in, watch my hand, when I just wrap it around the arrow like this, if you watch, if I squeeze, did you see it get bigger? That squeezing is actually instrumental. You squeeze around the arrow, your hand swells up. It just swells up a little, 1/8 of an inch, 1/4 of an inch total. But it's pressure that's pushing against the target face and pulling the arrow out without expending any muscles in your elbow and certainly nothing in your shoulder. Use that. Use that. You can even put 2 hands on the arrow, squeeze both of them, and one hand's going to squeeze against the other and the other one's going to squeeze against the target face. And that cumulative pressure is going to add up at the target face, and it's actually going to push. It's going to expel the arrow that little bit where it's stuck. Because a lot of times when arrows shoot in, there's friction involved. They go through the plastic and they momentarily, just the way ice skates work. If you didn't know this, if you look at the edge of a blade, an ice skate blade, if you look down it, it's actually concave. The whole idea is that as it sits on top, as you go over the ice, you instantaneously melt the ice into water and you glide over the top of it. And then when you leave, the pressure is released and it goes back into a solid. If you didn't know that. So the whole idea here is not that you're changing the bag from a solid to a liquid, but the arrow, when it goes in, creates so much friction instantaneously that sometimes it penetrates the glue in between the individual layers of the target, and it glues itself in, and you need to break that bond. And the best way to do it, squeeze your hand, swell up the hand, pop the arrow loose, and then the rest of it comes out. Back to the video. But don't use your shoulder muscles, don't jerk. You can even use one other third person. Get a third hand on there, ask for help. But don't try to muscle it out yourself. You'll eventually end up with an injury that's going to take a huge portion of your life to try to fix. That's it for today's lesson. Hope you found it useful. This is Mark Vogt with Vogtland Outdoors. Please feel free to subscribe to my channel. We'll see you out there. Cut.